The Italian Wine Podcast is the community-driven platform for Italian wine geeks around the world. Support the show by donating at ItalianWinepodcast.com. Donate €5 or more and we'll send you a copy of our latest book, My Italian Grape Geek Journal, absolutely free. To get your free copy of My Italian Grape Geek Journal, click support us at ItalianWinepodcast.com or wherever you get your pods. Grazie mille.
Welcome to Masterclass US Market with me, Juliana Colangelo. This show has been designed to demystify the US market for Italian wineries through interviews with experts in sales and distribution, social media, communications, and so much more. We will quiz each of our esteemed guests at the end of each episode to solidify the lessons that we've learned. So sharpen your pencils, get out your notebooks, and join us each week to learn more about the US market.
Hello, welcome to Masterclass US Wine Market. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Charlie Friedmann to the Italian Wine Podcast. Charlie is the founder of Proxies, a non-alcoholic wine alternative. By blending wine grapes, fruits, teas, spices, and complex ferments, Proxies go way beyond the grape to capture everything that makes wine a great pairing with food: acidity, body, and tannin, but without the alcohol. Welcome to the show, Charlie. It's really great to have you here.
I'm really excited to be here. You know, we try to do something a little different in non-alc wine. And for us, it's always about getting the approval and feedback from the industry. So it's really exciting to be on with you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we're really excited, Charlie, to dive into all things non-alc today, as on the heels of Dry January, just talking about the growth of the category, and you as the founder of Proxies, one of the bigger non-alc brands here in the US market, just learning more about the space. But before we dive in, Charlie, tell us a little bit more about your background and how you came to start Proxies.
Okay. I mean, I don't want to waste the whole thing on my background, but
the short version.
I've had a varied career. I grew up in the food industry. My family had a frozen chicken business. We claim to have invented the dinosaur-shaped chicken nugget.
Oh, wow. That's a big claim.
Some debate of like who made it first. But anyway, so I was always like in this world of CPG products and food and retail. But ultimately, I went to law school. I worked as a lawyer in a big law firm in New York for a few years. Really didn't like that. Went briefly into restaurant consulting, which should not be a thing, but it was. And so I did that for a little bit in New York, helped open a few different concepts, but really everything from trying to create the strategy to helping to build a wine list and a cocktail list and washing dishes on opening night, cleaning the toilet, right before opening. So really across the board there. And then I grew up in Canada and I moved back to Canada after that, to Montreal and then to Toronto, where I am now, and have really been working, trying to get back into food since then. Worked on a couple of different failed startups for the most part. Did another startup that was a direct-to-consumer athletic wear brand. And after that finished, I took a food writing class on a whim and ultimately spent a couple years writing for the Globe and Mail, Canada's national paper, Food and Wine, Bon Appetit, and all the usual suspects about food, wine, travel. And really that led to a job at a company called Acid League, where I joined as one of the first employees to run the marketing and to write copy and do the labels and all kinds of things. And while we were at Acid League, we had this idea. We had a friend who, it was the middle of COVID and he was back in Canada. He had been working in New Zealand and Australia and in France as a winemaker. And he had to come back home. And we said, well, we see what's going on in beer and in wine, in non-alc. And we said in beer and in spirits, but in wine, like there's nothing that we as wine lovers wanted to drink ever. Like the de-alc wines were just terrible. It's always a less than product. And, and like friends of mine who had restaurants, didn't want to serve them and were always looking for something. So we said, like, can we make something better? And it was just a figment of an idea. This might be answering 10 questions forward, but we said, like, can we make something better that serves the wine occasion? Can we take a different approach and make something that really does pair with food that has texture and complexity and tannin structure? And he tried to do that. Devin, one of my co-founders of Proxies, and he came back with something in a wine bottle and we swirled it in wine glasses and we did the whole pretentious thing. And we said, we're onto something. And And we sort of just built from there.
That's really exciting. And what year was all that happening, Charlie?
That was towards the end of 2020. So we launched the first Proxies in January 2021. We rushed to just hit dry January that year. I feel like we didn't even know what we were doing. And then we realized, oh, look, it's dry January. That's a thing. So let's get this out the door.
That'll speed up the timeline.
Yeah. And, originally we wanted to build slowly, like I said at the beginning, through restaurants. I had friends in the industry who were like, there's nothing we want to serve. So we wanted to make a drink that restaurants would be proud to serve, that they would be interested in. But again, it was peak COVID, January 2021. So restaurants were not open.
Yeah. Maybe restaurants weren't your biggest market at that point.
We launched as an online wine club, or not wine club. And we said, we're going to make 3 new Proxies every month.
3 new products. Hey, wow. And then for the wine industry, that's, wild, right? Because it takes approximately 17,000 months just to get a new product into the market.
Pretty much. Honestly, we didn't have to wait for grapes to grow, but it was insane also. But we said that, and nobody in the world had really made anything like it before at all. And we're like, oh, we'll just make 3 a month, no problem. And so we did that, and that really struck a chord with a lot of people, that it was a different approach to non-alc wine, because we weren't just taking, bulk wine and stripping the alcohol out. We were taking varietal wine grape juices, but then layering on other fruits, layering on, whole spices, natural botanicals, and maybe most importantly, really high quality teas. Wine is a super special beverage and nothing really compares, but if anything is to compare, it's probably tea, in terms of just the structure of the beverage and the tannin that you get, and how it can sort of have that texture and full flavor and aromatics.
What's that bitterness too? That kind of that quality. If we think about the different tastes, sweet, sour, bitter, right? And tea and grapes and wine, all of that has that bitter from the tannin.
Totally. We use tea that you could never buy unless you're a super tea nerd. Like we use super high quality tea because it is so important. And so that's the base of it. We treat each ingredient in the best way possible. It's always blending to taste. It's a very uncommercial method to make ultimately a commercial product. It's very labor intensive. It's very high ingredient cost. It's a lot of effort. But to us, we had to do something completely different.
Right, because there was a gap in the market, as you said, for a product that your friends in the restaurant industry, and I'm assuming a lot of your peers, felt proud to serve and wanted to actually drink.
That's the hope.
Is that right? Yeah, exactly. Well, it seems like you've been successful. We're going to talk a little bit more about the evolution of Proxies, but I just want to lay out kind of what our 3 key takeaways are for this episode. And what we're excited, we've already learned a lot, but what we're excited to learn from you, Charlie, is how has this no alcohol category evolved over the years, especially since Proxies launched, so we can focus on the last 3 years in the US market. What are the opportunities in this category that you see moving forward? And what kind of the future of the space as well? Is it a fad? Is it here to stay? Well, what does it look like moving forward? So talk to us, first about the last 3 years and the evolution of Proxies, and by proxy, had to do it, by proxy, the evolution of the no alcohol space for wine specifically.
I'm sort of the skeptical person that if you had told me 3.5 years ago, this would be your life, I would have told you you're insane. I was the one who wouldn't want to drink these types of products. It's been a personal development journey along with the market and along with the brand. Right. When we first launched, there was, like I said, a lot of excitement at there being something different. That said, there was a lot of still skepticism, and a lot of people have tasted a lot of bad dealcoholized wine in their life. Actually, they probably haven't tasted a lot of it, but they've tasted the same couple cheap grocery store things that someone bought when someone was pregnant or whatever it might be. And those products are always a necessity. It's oh, I had to have something, so I bought this thing, and maybe it has bubbles and it made it slightly less bad.
Right.
So we had to overcome a lot there. At the same time, there was this built-in interest of can someone make something different? Oh, this feels different. Maybe it's interesting. we've seen a lot of excitement at the start, but then a lot of challenges too. And a lot of, if we're looking at selling to, on-premise buyers or trade retail, for example, a lot of buyers didn't think they needed something. Some get it right away, and some were, more reluctant. Some saw a need, but didn't really trust the non-alc customer to drink something sophisticated. They thought, oh, we can just get away with something basic, and it doesn't matter what it tastes like.
Well, probably because they didn't have a lot of choices before too, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't begrudge them. It's also everyone is going through a hard time, and it's like you have a limited budget. You're going to buy the stuff that moves, right? So to take on a new product is a leap of faith. I'm eternally grateful to those partners that did take that leap with us, and saw that consumers are demanding, more exciting products, and that they are willing to pay the same for non-alc as they would pay for an alcoholic drink. And especially in the wine space, are desperate for something new. And the thing is, like, we made 3 new ones every month for a while, and then we switched to 6 every quarter for a bit. But either way, like, we've made nearly 100 different blends now. And to be frank, like, we've gotten a lot better too, which is a blessing. That sometimes it's good that not as many people tasted your early stuff.
Right. I imagine all those different products too, like a little bit of trial and error, or just market testing to see which blends and which formulas taste the best.
Yeah, I think that's our advantage, is that we have this direct feedback loop where we know. We have a better sense, at least, than any other company, I think, of what people are really looking for in this space,
right?
And how to deliver that. And so, yeah, sometimes we put out stuff that was crazy, like an oxidized, Madeira style thing, and we didn't think people would love it, but it was a learning experience, right? Like, how far can we push the boundaries?
Interesting.
But what we've seen is, in raw numbers, like, we grow 150% year over year.
Right.
But we see that anecdotal interest is just compounding. And, I get emails from really big grocery stores now, and big trade retailers. You get restaurants all over North America reaching out like, hey, I saw something about you. Like, how can I get this on my menu? At first, it was hard to get distribution partners super interested. And now they're like, wait, this is a huge value add for my portfolio. Like, we have states where, we have a few distributors fighting over carrying Proxies. So it's really exciting to see.
A good problem to have.
Yeah. And even where we are now is really at the beginning of an inflection point, because you're starting to see the really big retailers understand that they need to play in this space, but also understand how to play in this space, because throwing stuff on a bottom shelf in a corner, that's not doing anyone any good. But, like, when gluten-free products first existed, they were just shoved in next to the bread and nobody knew what they were and didn't buy them.
Right.
As soon as they were, merchandised properly, that's become a huge thing, to the point that now people think it's a fake allergy. But like, as soon as people see in stores that there is a non-alc aisle or display, they're drawn to that and they're purchasing, and it's not really taking away from alcohol sales. It's really additive. It's something that, is bringing in a consumer that is spending a lot, that, retailers see their basket size improve. It's really beneficial to everyone, but we need to do it right. So,
and it's serving a different occasion. Yeah, exactly. I mean, there was a stat, I think, from Nielsen that said something like 94% of people buying non-alcoholic alternatives are also buying alcohol. So it's not that, like you said, it's not taking away necessarily from someone who's buying alcohol. It's just they're buying for a different occasion or for a different use case, or, to maybe to be more moderate about consumption. So I agree with you that there's room for everyone.
Italian Wine Podcast, part of the Mama Jumbo Shrimp family.
It sounds like, you feel that the retailers are now starting to catch on with the category and really how to properly merchandise the category. So on that topic, talk to us a little bit about the marketing of Proxies and the direction you went in, and what's been most successful when it's come to
It's
really
funny
growing the brand?
because what we're talking about is the case. So, the stat you just mentioned, like we've always marketed to people who are cutting back. Obviously, there's a core audience who don't drink at all, but for us, we like to talk about the weeknight wine. Like I still drink wine. Pretty much everyone on our team loves wine. Wine is great. That's why we do this. Like, but I can't drink wine every night, and I also don't want to drink LaCroix every night. Like with dinner, like I want something that feels like an escape from the workday. I want something that actually makes my meal more interesting. You want something that you can have with friends or family and talk about. And so that's the market we've gone after. We've really tried to focus in on what is the core occasion for wine. And to us, that is food pairing. The only wines that have other occasions, like champagne has a celebratory occasion use case. Rosé has, a summer occasion as well. But generally, when you think about wine, it's about pairing with food. So that's what we really thought about from the start. And like I said, why we wanted to work through sort of the chefs and the somms and the industry credibility and rebuild, a disdained category. And so the way we did that at first, to be honest, our goal was just be in good restaurants, get feedback, see if people we respect will carry this. It was in the news at the time early on that Sean Brock, famous chef, obviously, had gone sober. And we said, like, okay, wouldn't it be cool if we could just get his feedback, like get Sean Brock to try this? And we were trying to reach him. And by the time we did, which wasn't far into our journey, just like a few months in, he said, "Hey, I'm a subscriber. You didn't notice?"
Oh,
And I was
wow.
like, "Oh shit, I should pay more attention." And we got on a call and he like flashed all our marketing materials at me. I was like, I don't have that many. Like we sent,
That's
inserts in the
amazing.
boxes with tasting notes. And he's like, "I drink these with my family. Like I'm super excited. Can we do something together?" And I was like, yes, please. And so that became our first collaboration. And
Very
it was
cool.
truly just that organic.
Yeah.
Like it was a natural thing. It was a true collaboration. We went down to Nashville. We worked in his kitchen on what it would taste like. There was no like financial component. It's not one of these like, hey, take some shares and pretend you're part of the company. It was totally just like, I'm super excited about what you're doing. Can we do this together? And we did. And that really set us on a path where we're like, like what's the next one? We got that itch, and we ended up collaborating with André Mack,
Very cool.
which was amazing, and Dominique Crenn,
Oh, he's great.
and then Michelin star chefs in Chicago, Beverly Kim and Johnny Clark, and Division Winemaking, and Miguel de Leon, amazing somm in New York. And so that has sort of become part of our calling card, right? Like it's not about the collabs, it's about the credibility that brings, and that it's really something that nobody else can match, because it's something that's been real. Like it's just about the quality and the credibility
Right.
that brings. And if Proxies are served at Alinea or the French Laundry, well, they must have something going for them, right?
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, sounds like the partnerships and relationships you built are real. They're not.
Which is
I think
amazing.
consumers are starting to get really wise to that they're paid and they're not real. Like you went for the real relationship.
It's not a celebrity alcohol brand or anything like that. Some of these people are like on Netflix and things,
Yeah.
but they just wanted to do this because it was something exciting. And so we find that our marketing is most successful when we focus on what's different about Proxies. And so it is the chef and somm credibility, but it's also how they're made, how we build a beverage from the ground up, and that it's not just de-alkalized wine, because a lot of people have had a poor experience with that. So we do a lot of online advertising, and we've learned what sort of messaging works and what resonates with the right type of consumer that will really like our product and keep coming back. And it is built around that, and it's a really important part. Even if it didn't work in ads, like to me, that's what we always set out to do. And ultimately, like to build a sustainable company in this space, it has to be quality above everything. And people are, coming to non-alc as we said, as retailers start to merchandise it better and carry more products, but they're willing to try it once, maybe twice. If you give them a product that's subpar, like, they go back to their preconceived notions of, well, never mind that.
Right.
Like I'll just drink water, you know?
Or LaCroix. I mean, speaking of quality, Charlie, talk to us a little about pricing strategy when it comes to Proxies, because, we think about non-alcoholic versus alcoholic and price. I have friends and I hear them say like, oh, why is a non-alcoholic alternative the same price? And how did you navigate that part of the launch and the marketing?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, first of all, the product costs a lot to make. Like I said earlier, there is a lot of effort that goes into it. We're using expensive ingredients. We're using varietal wine grapes. We're using verjus that we source locally. We're using amazing teas. We're building a lot of our own aromatics, almost like cocktail bitters, but we're making a lot of those ourselves, with the best quality spices and botanicals. So it's expensive, and ultimately the price should reflect quality as well, and sort of tells the consumer that this is something different. So there is an element of brand and marketing in that as well. You know this from wine as well, right? Like, so it doesn't cost that much more to make a bottle of $150 wine versus a $20 wine. It's just the signal of quality and
Right.
the goodwill that's been built up and so on. It's a bit of both, but we find that the end consumer is pretty willing to pay here. It is more the industry, gatekeepers that are sometimes afraid of the price. But, we try to work with our partners, like in on-premise accounts to get to a by the glass price and really encourage sampling and prove that people are going to like it and that it's going to move.
So like you said earlier in the conversation, when it comes to the retailers and accounts you're working on, it's also teaching them how to market the product, right? And how to correctly, whether it's on a shelf or list, position it so that it does move. So that seems like a really important part of the offering for Proxies, but I would say for the non-alcoholic space in general.
Yeah, education is huge. So
yeah, for sure. And just speaking of the space a little more broadly, since you've been in it now for over 3 years and seen a lot of success and growth with the Proxies brand, what do you see as the future for the category?
I mean, I'm biased, but I do think it's going to continue to grow. I think it's really short-sighted if anyone thinks this is a fad, because to the point you said, it's like in the mid 90s percentage of consumers of non-alc do still drink alcohol. So it's about people moderating their drinking and cutting back, and
right.
To be frank, like finding other, substances as they become legal as well. It's just going to grow, and really it's going to grow as awareness of the category grows, as it's put in front of people and they see that there are good options and they try them and they're able to get them in their local restaurant where they trust the person serving them, and then in their local store. We have a great online business, but ultimately I don't want to be forcing people to buy 4 or 6 bottles online forever. Like, I want you to be able to get this in your local store. I want you to be able to taste it at your local restaurant. And that's really what's happening, I think, in the next year or two, is that proliferation into more and more spaces and just more awareness of the products that are out there, and hopefully the high quality products.
Right. More accessibility.
Helps, it's a rising tide type of thing. It sounds cliche, but it's true. More and more people realize, hey, like, there is something other than these bubbly waters. There is something different than kombucha, How can I replace wine? How can I make my day and my week feel better without having to have alcohol? And sometimes we can be a better pairing than alcohol, sometimes worse. Sometimes you have it alongside wine. Like we encourage all these things because it's really about finding the opportunities to have a non-alc alternative that work for you. And really that's different for everyone. But it's rare that anyone wouldn't see any use case in their life for a non-alc product, right?
Totally. So many different, opportunities for it. Well, Charlie, thank you for joining us today. As we wrap up, we do want to do our rapid fire quiz we do at the end of every episode, just to give our listeners a few final pieces of advice about the U.S. market, in this case, the non-alcoholic space in the U.S. market. So if you can do your best to answer these questions in 1 or 2 sentences.
I was going to say, you've seen that might be difficult for me, but
Try your best. So question number 1, I know you're coming to us from Canada, but we're going to focus on the U.S. still. And I know you've lived here, so it works. Number 1, what is your number 1 tip for mastering the U.S. wine market?
For us, it's patience. It's about finding the right products, putting them in the right place at the right time. So making sure that if we go into a retailer, that retailer is ready to do this in this category and is going to be a good partner and listen to us as well and share data back and forth about what works. So it's about being patient for us.
Great advice. Number 2, what's something you might have told your younger professional self about selling non-alcoholic wine in the U.S.?
I never would have told my younger self that. Kind of like wine, every state and every region is different, both in terms of laws and regulations and frankly, consumer tastes and readiness. You would think New York would be an amazing state for non-alc products, but the laws don't allow alcohol sellers, retailers to sell non-alc products. So it's really difficult to figure out a distribution pathway there. It's really difficult to get products in front of people. Each next state we go to, there's another particularity, even in non-alc. Like we're immune to some laws, but it's a complicated pathway, and working through the 3-tier system and sometimes outside the 3-tier system has its challenges.
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah, I experienced that in New York recently about the non-alc not being sold in alcohol stores. So definitely a unique challenge. Like you said, and every state has its own unique challenges. Finally, number 3, we all travel a lot in this industry. It sounds like you're traveling a lot throughout the country, meeting with partners. What's your favorite travel hack?
I'm not good at this. I'm going on a trip tomorrow and I'm not really packed yet. For me, it's funny. At one point I was looking for good solutions for how we could ship our bottles direct to consumer. We were having some breakage issues and I ordered from a bunch of different places, and one seller had these odd plastic bottle sleeves that honestly were not the best option, but in the end I kept them all and I take them with me empty and travel and bring bottles of wine or sometimes non-alc products back with me. So it's just being prepared to ferry stuff. And when I don't, there's always socks and sweatshirts. But
very cool. Yeah. Very sustainable of you. Mm-hmm. Using laundry to pack wine. I've done it many times. Well, Charlie, thank you again so much for joining us on the Italian Wine Podcast. How can our listeners connect with you?
Yeah, we're at drinkproxies.com and Drink Proxies on Instagram, pretty much Drink Proxies everywhere. It seems like every beverage brand now has a drink before their name because it's just easier. But yeah, that's how you can find us and sign up for our emails if you want and keep track of what we're up to. But hopefully we'll be, in more and more restaurants and stores near you, wherever you may be in the future.
Fantastic. All right. Thanks again, Charlie.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me today. Stay tuned each week for new episodes of Masterclass US Wine Market with me, Juliana Colangelo. And remember, if you enjoyed today's show, hit the like and follow buttons wherever you get your podcasts.